Sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan chapter of the National Management Association. My name is Phil Delia, and I am the chapter president for our NMA chapter. Today, we have the distinct privilege of listening to several young adults who, with each present a speech about the American enterprise system and what it means to them. We're hoping that each speaker will, in his or her way, lift your spirits, and each will transmit to you some of their excitement about the world we live in. The winner of our contest today will advance to the contest in May, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. At this time, I'd like to introduce Billy Ray Bates, who is the chairperson for the BSBSM chapter of the American Enterprise Speech Contest.
Okay, thank you very much, Phil. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're glad to have everybody here today. My name is Billy Ray Bates, and I work in the Graphic and Publishing Services Department of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. I'm also a member of the National Management Association, and as Phil mentioned, the chairperson of this event. The NMA sponsors this speech contest every year, but this year is pretty special. We've all been going through a lot the past few months, especially since September 11th, and a lot of us might be uncertain about our future, especially the futures of our children, actually. So what you're going to hear today should make you feel a little bit better. You're going to hear where our future lies, and it's with young people like the ones that we have here today. A few words about the contest and some of the rules. We will ask you, the audience, to actually not applaud after each speaker's speech. I know that might be difficult in some cases, but this silence will actually allow all of our judges to tally the scores and give a proper and appropriate score to each speaker. I just went through the contest rules with all of the contestants, and they'll actually be expecting that period of silence. So please keep that in mind. You'll have lots of opportunity to applaud all that you want to once we introduce everyone and then once we announce the winners. During the speeches, the judges as well as the audience will not know the name of each contestant. At the conclusion of all the presentations and after the judges have completed their scoring, the speakers will return for introductions and recognition. We're also requesting no flash photography during the contest itself. There will be lots of opportunity to take pictures after the judges have announced the results. We have a BSBSM photographer here who's covering the event with a digital camera. So actually, if you're interested in copies of those pictures through email, we'd be happy to send them to you. Just talk to me after the event and I can arrange that. Now, before we begin, let me give you some basic information about the format and the rules of the contest. The speeches will be given in numerical order. Each speaker's number was randomly assigned just a little while ago. Each speech is not to exceed 6 minutes, but it has to be at least 4 minutes. And if it goes less than 4 minutes or over 6 minutes, penalties will be applied in the scoring, but no one will be disqualified for the length of the speech. They'll just get some points taken off. We have 2 people who are serving as timers, and they will be monitoring each speaker's time. We have a set of lights that will let the speakers know when they've passed 4 minutes and when they're getting close to 6 minutes. Judging is being done by a select group that includes local members of Toastmasters International and the Skillmasters Club. They will be introduced later in our contest. We can assure you that each judge is highly skilled and experienced in the art being practiced here this afternoon. And now, let's begin the American Enterprise Speech Contest. And of course, we will begin with contestant number 1.
Good afternoon. In the early days of America, our proudest boast was as a land of religious, political, and personal freedom. Now, 226 years later, the United States is drawing even more attention as a country of economic freedom, a freedom which has greatly contributed to the idea of the United States as a nation of hope. America, now more than ever, is a place brimming with opportunities for all its citizens to reach great heights. This is the America that our forefathers dreamed of, a place where average men can truly achieve great things, a country where prosperity is not based on birthrights, but rather on what one chooses to accomplish afterwards, and a home where the rags to riches stories so often portrayed in literature are everyday occurrences. One such Chicago native is a prime example. Born in 1944, he did not grow up in an extremely wealthy household. He dropped out of the University of Illinois, and there wasn't much about him to suggest that he would ultimately become one of the richest men in the world. Yet Larry Ellison became just that. Ellison, the founder of Oracle, is now worth over $23 billion and is living what most would call the American dream. Yet some people would simply say that Ellison's astounding success is due to luck or simple chance. And this would be true if so many others had not achieved similar success in similar fashion. Consider, for example, Robert Johnson, who used a $15,000 loan to create BET, now noted as one of the richest cable franchises in existence. Johnson, the ninth of 10 children in a working-class family, was the first African-American billionaire and continues to provide opportunities for many other Americans. However, the freedoms and opportunities of the American free enterprise system have not only provided for individual wealth, but also established more convenience and a higher standard of living across the globe. Imagine, for example, life without automobiles or trains or airplanes. In our fast-paced global society, these inventions are no longer just items of convenience, but rather necessities. However, if it were not for the incentives that the American system provides for people to be innovative and to develop a vision for the future, many of these items would not be created or would be drastically underdeveloped. Bill Gates is one such entrepreneur who saw a hole in the market and went about filling it. He was the guiding force behind Microsoft, which made great strides in making the computer more user-friendly and attractive to mainstream users. His company now holds almost monopolistic power, not as a result of some record-breaking merger or government gift, but because of the strength of their products and the vision of their founder. Gates, now far and away the richest man in the world, has revolutionized the computer industry and become a symbol of corporate success and the American entrepreneurial spirit. The stories of these three entrepreneurs are a testament to what the American system has cultivated, yet it is still only a glimpse of the success that American entrepreneurs have had as a whole. Each and every day, new millionaires are being created, men and women who are profiting from their ability to be innovative and to have a vision of the future, men and women who are amassing great wealth, men and women who are defining an era and solving eternal problems with amazing speed and vision. But none of this would be possible if it were not for the freedoms that the American enterprise system provides, a system which provides its citizens with the freedom to own property, the freedom to pursue their own ideas, and the freedom to profit from those ideas. It is these freedoms which motivated three African-American men who just 40 years ago would be fighting for their basic civil rights to become the CEOs of such powerful companies as AOL, Time Warner, Merrill Lynch, or American Express. It is those same freedoms which helped women like Carly Fiorina and Indra Nooyi to break down the gender barriers that have existed throughout history and become the leaders of Hewlett-Packard and PepsiCo. The American system has been so prosperous because it frees the best minds and most ambitious people, regardless of background, to build, create, innovate, invent, and advance the prosperity of all men. And while some groups would attempt to attack the very symbols of that economy, still more are using the American enterprise system as a model for economic prosperity. 226 years ago, early Americans fought, bled, and died to uphold the freedoms of America. Now, in 2002, each and every citizen must pledge to also uphold and utilize the freedoms provided for by our economic system. Only by doing this can we guarantee that the American dream of prosperity, stability, and opportunity is now and forever an American reality. Thank you.
The American Enterprise System among high school students. The second purpose of the contest is to involve youth in researching, writing, and delivering speeches on our economic system. And the third purpose is to provide youth with an incentive to develop communication skills that are vital to those entering the workforce and to American businesses. And finally, the fourth purpose is to provide winning students with financial rewards that will help them further their formal education. And now we will hear from contestant number 2.
A study performed at Richmond University in London showed that if we were to shrink the world population down to a community of 100 people, using the existing ratios that we have today, only 6 out of 100 people would only 6 out of 100 people would possess 59% of the entire world's wealth, and all 6 would be from the United States. This study shows us that our American enterprises, as American enterprises, we have an enormous responsibility to the global community to respect human and civil rights set forth in the American Constitution. These responsibilities include the prohibition of slavery and involuntary servitude by the 13th Amendment. Yet and still, a global market has sprung up that smuggles slaves into the West, a market that brings up $7 billion in profit each year. It is time we realize that slavery is not a problem limited to third world countries. It is right here, right now in our own backyards. It is an injustice to freedom, the most basic of all human rights, and is a brick wall to the American dreamer who can no longer get a job at a decent wage because someone else is being forced to do his job for free. We must strive for human rights company policies that not only prohibit slavery, but also prohibit child labor. Living in a surplus nation, we can no longer do just anything for an American dollar. A country's moral progress is marked not only by how they treat their inferiors, but also how they treat their children. By making a legal working age of 16, we have given our children their childhood back. By not financially supporting the sweatshops and factories that would, by not financially supporting the sweatshops and factories that would use little fingers to make clothing, shoes, and food, we have made a statement that will go across the globe that says that Americans will not support children working. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only kind of discrimination that should be allowed in the workplace. Discrimination based on race, religion, sexual orientation, gender, is deemed illegal by federal and state courts. So why is it that every minority is underrepresented in American enterprise? Statistically, black men have fewer jobs than Caucasian men. Women are promoted less than men, and women have lower wages than men for the exact same jobs with the exact same qualifications. The 19th Amendment was passed. It was voted on into law to stop these kinds of injustices. And American enterprises must abide by the law and make wages that are equal for both men and women. If we are to achieve the moral standard that in American enterprise that our forefathers set for us in the American Constitution, then we must begin to judge men and women by the content of their character. Only then will we understand what it means to respect the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In the global community of 100, discrimination wouldn't even be an option. 57 people would be Asian, 21 would be European, 14 would come from the Americas, both North and South, 8 would be African, 11 would be homosexual, 89 would be heterosexual, 30 would be Christian, and 70 would be non-Christian, 52 would be female, and 48 would be male. Half would suffer from malnutrition. One person would be near death. One person would be near life. One person would own a computer. And one, only one, would possess a college education. Truly, we are the leaders of the world. And as leaders, respecting the human and civil rights of all people is a priority that cannot be ignored and is an action that will not go unadmired.
The NMA first hosted the American Enterprise Speech Contest in 1988. It's based on 4 levels of competition. The first is the chapter level, which we are now conducting here today. These students are 9th through 12th graders competing for the next level of competition. The first place winner of this afternoon's contest receives a $200 U.S. savings bond and becomes the representative of our NMA chapter at the subsequent levels in the coming months. So here is contestant number 3.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The title of my essay is Motivation at the Job. Unappreciated, aggravated, and stressed out is how I feel after a long day's work. I'm a full-time student, also working part-time. This means I have to deal with my teachers, peers, and also co-workers. Instead of going to work and working, I find myself having to listen to the problems of managers and deal with their attitudes because of what happened at home. Dealing with students is already a problem, then going to work and dealing with grown-ups is not my idea of a good day. Motivation is an issue that is problematic in my stressful work environment. Motivation is a 10-letter word that most people in management don't understand or focus on. Being able to show someone that there are reasons for them to come to work happy is a way to explain motivation. A manager is a person who is worthy to accomplish tasks and satisfy customers with a smile. If an employee has an unfavorable attitude, this is what he or she will convey to the customers. The customers often respond unkindly and go elsewhere. There are various aspirations to motivate employees. Meetings of encouragement, meetings for them to get to know each other, and signs around the workplace are all aspirations. This entire scenario with unsatisfied customers leaving businesses could have been avoided if the employer would give the employer a reason to come to work cheerfully and willing to do the best job possible. In an interview with Thomas White, 17, a local Farmer Jack employee, the question was asked, what would you change about your work habits if there was motivation from your manager? He answered with a simple, I would do a better and more complete job. He also said, since management is in a higher position, that they think it's what I say and when I say. This is not an example of being motivated. This is being power-struck. There are various considerations that can motivate employees to do their best job possible. Issues such as health, care, vacations, benefits can motivate. Discounts, and most important, adequate pay are all great motivations. How much a person will receive for doing a task should be greatly considered when looking for an occupation. In an interview with Melinda Williams, 36, a mother of 5, who was interested in this topic, the question was asked, what top credentials do you look for when applying for a job? She said, make sure the pay rate is close to my current, that there are insurance and benefits to ensure the lives of my children, and that I am qualified. A person does not want to devote 8 to 10 hours of their life for no benefits, no insurance, or low-wage job. A local teacher at the local high school, Ms. Lamar, made a very intelligent statement. She said, "Why would you work at McDonald's when you can work at Chrysler?" I thought about that and related making $5.25 an hour, no insurance, no benefits, and working at least 10 hours a day won't get me where I want to go. On the other hand, working at Chrysler, I would be insured the top insurance, working 9 to 11-hour days, and no less than $12 an hour. Anyone with common sense would pick the job at Chrysler because you're working for what you get the best. In Jane Miskell's Motivation at Work, 1994, it states, "Managers can motivate workers by providing a work environment that satisfies worker inner needs while achieving organizational objectives that would benefit everyone." This is a statement that everyone I interviewed agreed with. Miskell also states, "Size matters. If a company is small, it can affect the number of cutbacks, layoffs, hiring, wage freezes, downsizing that the company may have. In most small companies, the slightest change can affect employees and morale will fluctuate with every modification. Whether a company holds or folds might depend to a great degree on ownership if it's by a small entrepreneur or business chain. This might affect the pay scale and job stability. Competition, if a company is a grocery market, there would be lots of competition with stores like Farmer Jack, Kroger, Meijer, which makes it hard for the small company to advertise. This means the entrepreneur would have to motivate their employees because their employees are receiving less because the business is not pulling in the money it should. The free enterprise markets for anyone who's willing to count the cost and go for it. Education is necessary for successful businesses, and people skills are needed to run the business correctly and with longevity. The entrepreneur or person in charge has to motivate his or her employees because their employee is usually working for less. In summary, employers should find out what employees want to assure and to assure them that they are needed and appreciated. There should be workshops for higher personnel to receive more people skills, enabling them to talk to their coworkers professionally. If employees have a pleasant attitude and treat their employees with respect, then employees will do the same for them and to the best of their ability.